guys, we're Sam's Corner. I'm Stephanie and this is Audric and Melissa. Nah, hari ini kita kedatangan tamu spesial dari Music Education, ada Karion. Halo Karion.
Halo semuanya, halo Stephanie, Melissa, Audric.
Karion boleh ceritain sedikit gak tentang Karion ke yang dengar?
Oke. Halo semuanya. Salam kenal, nama saya Rion. Saya dulu kuliah di UPH Conservatory of Music, mengambil jurusan musik edukasi, ambil alat musik mayornya flute, dan aku waktu itu angkatan 2016. Jadi sekarang udah lulus akhirnya sore.
Mantap. Coba. Jelasin dalam 3 kata apa itu musik edukasi.
Oke. Sebentar ya. Aku ngomong pakai bahasa Inggris boleh nggak sih? Ini aku kayaknya lebih gampang ngomong pakai bahasa Inggris. Boleh. Ya. Okay, so for me, if I could describe music education in 3 words, they would be stressful, fun, and eye-opening. Stressful because of the many curriculums that I ought to learn and then I also have to create. Fun when I had the chance to teach people about what I do, about what I already know. And eye-opening because as an educator, I get to understand what's happening with the education system, especially in Indonesia, and how, I as one of the many new generations of teachers can try to create new ways of learning while trying to tackle the existing problems one by one, specifically in music education. Itu from me.
Nah, Karion kan tadi barusan bilang stressful. Nah, kira-kira ada nggak yang biggest challenges yang Karion harus hadapin selama jalanin music education?
Ada. Oke. Salah satu, udahlah ngomongnya bahasa campur-campur ya, udahlah. Bahasa luar negeri sih, nggak apa-apa lah. Salah satu tantangan terbesar buat aku yang masuk di musik edukasi adalah, ya mungkin orang bisa bilang ya banyak baca bukunya, banyak baca handout, itu juga sih. Tapi biggest challenge buat aku sendiri adalah, aku tuh awalnya nggak memilih musik edukasi sebagai peminatan aku. Awalnya aku pilih justru adalah classical performance, tapi aku lalu mengetahui kalau classical performance itu ditutup untuk alat musik tiup. Jadi aku mengambil pilihan kedua aku yang adalah musik edukasi di tahun pertama itu. Awalnya susah jadi murid musik edukasi. Aku sama sekali nggak senang di peminatan ini, jujur aja. Stres, harus benar-benar belajar banyak tentang metode-metode dari buku, dari handout. Tapi ya aku harus berusaha kayak ya udahlah, ayolah hari demi hari pasti bisa lah gitu. Tapi susah gitu. Sampai pada akhirnya aku sadar kalau just because I'm an educator does not mean that I will stop being a performer gitu. I can try to be a great teacher while also trying to be a great performer too. Dan di saat aku sadar dengan hal itu, mindsetku berubah dan semuanya juga berubah. Aku jadi lebih fokus dan waktu itu sekali aku mendapat salah satu nilai tertinggi di salah satu kelas praktek, dan gurunya juga kasih komplimen di mana dia bilang kalau aku bisa menjadi seorang edukator dan performer yang baik. Jadi itu salah satu biggest challenge dan juga kayak turning point buat aku juga. Gitu.
Alright, very pivotal ya the story, kayak ada momen gitu. Well, I guess. Nah, kan you talked about kayak not being in education at first and being in classical performance, but because of technical issues, you had to move. So, if you could kind of just talk about what were the subjects that people in Eduk yang wajib ambil, dan apakah do you have any advice to the people who are currently first year education students or want to be music ed students in tackling those subjects? misalnya, let's say I'm pretty sure there are classes that a lot of music ed people will take. So like, just kind of give some advice on, okay, so maybe for some subjects kayak gini, the trick is like this, or like any tips aja gitu for surviving subjects in music education.
Okay. I'll start with the subjects and how you tackle them first ya. Jadi like other concentrations, music education juga punya kelas praktek dan kelas teori. Contoh untuk kelas teori kita ada dasar musik edukasi. Nah itu tuh dimana kita awalnya belajar tentang dasar-dasarnya pengajaran dari para ahlinya. Lalu ada perencanaan kurikulum kelas musik. Itu kelas di mana kita belajar untuk menciptakan kurikulum yang baik untuk kelas musik, specifically untuk kelas musik. Lalu juga ada kelas sejarah musik edukasi. Ya, as you can tell from the name, ya belajar sejarah tentang edukasi dan musik edukasi. Lalu untuk kelas praktek ada lab pengajaran dan juga ada ensemble recorder. Nah, ensemble recorder tuh kelas favorit semua musik edukasi. Tanda. Alias enggak. Ya intinya gitulah. Jadi kalau lab pengajaran itu kita mengajar teman-teman kelas, lalu nanti di UAS-nya itu kita ngajar murid beneran based on their age group. Jadi kelas lab pengajaran itu nanti dibagi jadi 2, age group. Lab pengajaran 1 itu age group-nya ke TK, SD. Yang kedua itu nanti lebih ke SMP, SMA. Nah, how you tackle those classes? Simply put kayak gini deh. Theory classes and practical ones complete each other. Kamu harus mengerti teori untuk bisa mengajar murid-murid dan mengerti semua macam metode yang berbeda itu. Dan kamu juga memerlukan kelas praktek untuk mempraktekkan metode-metode dan teori-teori yang sudah dipelajari, gitu. Yang sudah dipelajari, yang sudah dibaca dari kelas teorinya sendiri. Kalau tips dari aku, di saat kamu di kelas praktek, belajar dari kesalahan-kesalahan yang kamu lakukan. Mistakes are your best teachers ever. Jadi setiap kesalahan yang kamu lakukan, setiap kesalahan yang kamu sadar maupun tidak sadar, dan nanti akan di point out sama guru atau mungkin teman-temanmu, belajar dari kesalahan-kesalahan itu. Karena dari kesalahan-kesalahan itulah muncul pemikiran kreatif yang bisa membuat kamu menjadi edukator yang lebih baik lagi gitu. Belajar baca banyak buku itu juga akan penting, buku dan handout. Tapi kalau kamu, ya kayak tadi aku bilang gitu, kelas teori butuh praktek, kelas praktek juga butuh teori. And also yang akan membantu kamu juga adalah untuk ikut masterclass. Join any education masterclass yang meskipun ya itu bukan untuk alatmu, tapi itu akan bisa membantu kamu juga dalam mengajar. Karena mungkin teori dan metode yang dipresentasikan di masterclass itu bisa kamu pakai untuk pengajaran kamu sendiri. Gitu. Nah tadi juga ada tips ya. Tips untuk upcoming sama current education students. Let's see. Oke, aku baginya jadi 3 deh. Satu untuk current, satu untuk upcoming, nanti satu lagi untuk both current and upcoming students. Gitu. Maaf ya. Tekan. Jadi untuk current students yang seperti tadi aku bilang, always learn from your mistakes. And since you're not able to create new methods, try mixing existing methods first gitu. Jadi antara metode dari si A sama si B kamu gabungkan gitu. Karena di saat kamu menggunakan satu aja, mungkin itu nggak bekerja gitu, nggak berhasil. Tapi kalau kamu combine 2 different ones, it might have a different outcome. Also, don't be scared to try new things. Even though you're not allowed to create a new method, but don't be scared to try new things because you will never know the result kalau kamu sendiri belum coba. Itu untuk current students. Untuk upcoming students, all I can say is prepare yourself for a journey in the education world. Have a heart that is willing to be taught have a heart that is willing to teach and to be taught. And a way you can start preparing for music education or education basically, kamu bisa mulai baca buku-buku edukasi yang ada di internet pasti banyak, dan juga bisa nonton video-video di YouTube. Yang terakhir, both and current upcoming students, my advice for you, I guess, is one day you will become an educator, like all your past teachers. So don't forget your duty to help your students grow, to become amazing individuals in their fields, and also not forgetting to support them in whatever they do. Itu kalau mungkin dari aku sendiri.
Mantap. Thank you. So, everybody knows now, okay, there are various, how would you say this? There are various prerequisites and there are various kaya traits needed in wanting to be in a specific field like this. Apalagi, how do I say this? It's one of those fields that require you to be selfless. Exactly. Like it requires a large part of you to be really, really selfless, because this isn't something yang kaya kamu bisa siapin di belakang panggung terus langsung tampilin di depan panggung. This is not just for you as an individual, but this is also for a lot of other people. And I'm not saying other jurusan doesn't do this, but they do this in their own way. But specifically for education, it has that, pay it forward, that attitude, Okay, so before we move on to the questions from our public, I want to ask, how would you evaluate the current system from your alma mater, which is where we're from UPH? How would you, give us a bit of like an evaluation about what you think what are the pros and cons of being in UPH, or what, let's just be mature and let's be objective about evaluating the current curriculum for music education students.
Okay. For music education students, yeah. If we're talking specifically music education students, I like the curriculum itself. It's very packed, it's complete, and you learn a lot in these classes actually. But the thing is, not everyone wants to teach in classes. Some actually just want to teach individually. So like tuitions, like les-lesan atau mungkin private. So I think UPH should have more classes in music education, that helps music education students in teaching, individual teaching, and not only class teaching, because it's very different when you teach one specific student and you teach many people. You might think, it's easy to teach individual teaching. It's not. It's actually not that easy, because you're just focusing on this one person, and you need to find out what kind of methods that are correct, rather than when you teach a whole class, you can use this one method, but it's not as hard as when you teach this individual. Though, like people say, like cuma satu orang aja, apa sih susahnya? It's not that. You cannot underestimate just because it's individual teaching. So I think for UPH, maybe for music education specifically, add a class or maybe some classes that helps us focus in individual teaching, not just class teaching. It'll help a lot, especially for the future, because not a lot of people wants to be a teacher that's like, anak-anak, kita akan membaca not ini ya, ini do, re, mi, gitu loh. Kan nggak semua orang mau kayak gitu. Ada yang maunya cuman kayak anak satu ngajar gitu aja kan. So I think individual teaching classes should be added in the curriculum for music education students. But like, the good thing is about UPH's curriculum in music education specifically, especially special banget kayaknya especially. UPH tuh sangat membantu dalam membentuk karakter kita menjadi seorang guru yang baik. They help us build this character where you're not just teaching, but you're also receiving. I think that's the correct way of putting it. So I'm giving my student knowledge from what I've learned, But that doesn't mean I don't learn new things from them every day. And I think that's what UPH has taught me. UPH has taught me that I am blessed with, like people in music education and people in their fields are blessed to have their gifts in those fields. So we, as the people who have those gifts, need to use it to its full capacity, so that the students or the people who are, for me, for example, my students needs to understand that, even though I'm giving you so much knowledge, it does not mean that I stopped learning the day I graduate from UPH. Which, by the way, aku belum wisuda aja, tapi aku udah lulus kok, guys. Tapi, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Like, UPH has taught me the great characters to be a teacher. You have to be humble. You have to be selfless, like what Audrey said. And you have to have the heart to teach and to be taught. Not by other teachers, but also by people who are much, much younger than you. And I think that's the special thing that you get from learning in UPH.
Well, I really look up to all of the fields in music, because I feel like in UPH there's a lot of variations. There are a lot of fields that you can get into, and each field has their own key feature. Let's say each field will require an individual to have necessary personality and character traits that will help them kind of ease in or help them, let them know that, okay, you're in the right field. So it's great to hear that UPH is able to cultivate a type of characteristic that is suited for education. But I guess it also makes sense where, in this world where everything is progressing, we also have to learn how to adapt to different types of learning situations. Tentu saja, not all classrooms will be the same size, not all classrooms will have the same students.
Yep.
Therefore, not all classroom settings can be generalized into a subject. Jadi kayak harus benar-benar you might need the extra experience in teaching one-on-one more or than the classroom one, because they have all different required attention spans, required approaches. So yeah, that's a really cool concept. Okay, so now we're gonna head into the questions from public. Let's go.
Jadi pertanyaan pertama, pendapat Karyon buat orang tua murid yang cuman belajar bahan ujiannya aja, itu gimana?
Oh, this is interesting. Oh, oke, ini pertanyaan yang menarik. Karena aku juga pernah ada satu orang tua yang seperti itu. The way I see it is like this. I am the one teaching. In that classroom, there is no parents. It's just me and my student. I am not gonna block out his or her creative mind. And I am not gonna put a barrier in their knowledge for music gitu. Karena kalau misalnya aku kan, oke, kamu nanti ujiannya ada 3 lagu ini, tangga nadanya ada 4 ini, nanti tambah 1 etude. Kalau kita latihan hanya itu aja berbulan-bulan, yang akan terjadi adalah kreativitas mereka akan berhenti. Dan kalau kreativitas mereka berhenti, mereka akan bosan. Karena lagunya itu aja, dan mereka mainnya kayak gitu aja, karena sesuai dengan apa yang diperintahkan untuk lagu tersebut. Dan nanti pada saat ujian itu nggak menjamin nilai yang bagus gitu. Karena orang tua pasti kan, oke, kita main lagu yang ujian aja ya biar nilainya bagus. No. Hanya karena memainkan lagu ujian berbulan-bulan itu nggak akan membuat anak itu nggak mendapatkan nilai yang bagus. No, malah anak itu ada kemungkinan bisa juga nggak lolos karena dia bosen gitu. So untuk dari aku sendiri, aku kurang setuju dengan bermain lagu ujian aja gitu, karena itu akan memblokir kreativitas mereka gitu. Dan kalau mereka terblokir ya, yang kayak tadi aku bilang, mereka akan bosan, monoton, dan sama aja jadinya nggak. Kalaupun lulus nilainya pas-pasan dan nanti orang tuanya akan kesel, kok kamu nilainya pas-pasan, kan latihan ini terus. That's the point. Karena dia latihan itu terus, dia nggak berkembang, musikalitasnya dan tekniknya juga nggak berkembang. Gitu. Kalau dari aku mungkin seperti itu. Dan kalau misalnya mau menjelaskan ke orang tua, jelaskannya ya lebih, ya jangan ngomongnya kayak tadi juga, kayak lebih sopan aja gitu, Bu atau Pak. Mungkin lebih baik kalau saya tetap memberikan bahan-bahan yang lain. Karena dengan memberikan bahan-bahan yang lain, saya tidak menghentikan kreativitas dia sampai di situ. Dan dia juga tidak akan bosan main lagu yang sama terus-menerus. Itu kalau dari aku sendiri.
Oke. Kalau misal nih ngajar di sekolahan dengan subjeknya musik, tapi lulusannya performance, itu boleh apa enggak?
Interesting. Kalau dari aku sendiri, nggak ada salahnya sih. Karena dia kan juga sudah belajar teori, dia sudah belajar solfeggio juga, jadi dasar-dasar dari musiknya itu dia udah ketahui dan udah pelajari. Cuman dia nggak spesialis dalam bidang edukasi, itu aja kan perbedaannya. Jadi kalau menurut aku nggak ada masalah untuk dia yang mempunyai yang mengambil jurusannya performance tapi mengajar. My advice, mungkin dia bisa mengambil beberapa kelas, master class dalam class teaching. Karena mungkin dia biasa kan, karena performance biasa mereka ngajarnya mungkin one on one gitu kan, les-lesan. Dan mungkin kalau mereka kelas besar, mereka akan kaget. Mungkin mereka bisa nonton video-video di YouTube atau baca-baca buku tentang bagaimana mengajarkan anak-anak dalam jumlah yang besar gitu. So sebenarnya nggak ada masalah kalau mereka dari classical performance gitu misalnya, atau pop jazz performance, karena mereka udah ada dasarnya. Cuman mungkin bisa diperkuat lagi dalam sisi edukasinya, supaya mereka juga bisa mengajarkan anak-anak ini dengan tepat. Gitu kalau dari aku sendiri.
Oke, Karyon, ini ada pertanyaan selanjutnya, mungkin agak berat ya. Bedanya music educator yang sarjana seni dengan sarjana pendidikan tuh apa ya?
Oke. Sabar, coba ulang lagi.
Jadi perbedaannya music educator yang SSN sama SPD itu apa? Kan ada jurusan musik juga, tapi yang nanti lulusannya jadi SPD. Nah, bedanya apa tuh, Kak?
Ini in my own personal opinion ya. I don't see any difference whether you're a music educator with SSN or you're a music educator with SPD, sarjana pendidikan. You have one goal, that is to teach music, that is to introduce music to people, and that is what's important gitu. Gelar pendidikan itu hanya kayak menandakan kalau kita sudah melewati masa-masa terberat kita untuk mempersiapkan kita menjadi seorang guru yang baik. So for me, gak ada perbedaannya antara sarjana seni itu lebih bagus, sarjana pendidikan itu lebih bagus. No, there's no difference. Gak ada perbedaan sama sekali. We all do this with the same goal. That is to teach music, and that is to help people understand music deeper than they already know. And also to help people, realize that music is not something that you can't do for a living. Music is wide, music is broad. Dan us as educators needs to try to teach the mass public that, I think. So for me, gak ada perbedaan sama sekali antara sarjana seni atau sarjana pendidikan.
That's a really good answer.
Thank you. I felt like this was a Miss Universe kind of.
Yeah, I was about to say, wow, this was a very pageant answer, but really, really well said. Kayak apa ya? a lot of people, I feel like now, especially not just now, like a lot of people are very, very focused on kayak papers and gelang gitu, kayak jatuhnya tuh kan jadi malah lebih fokus ke what's on your paper instead of what you can do as a person gitu. Padahal harusnya sama aja. Your goal, what is your end goal in being a sarjana pendidikan sama sarjana seni musik yang eduk gitu? Kan at ujung-ujungnya you both want to be a driving force for the education. So why would you have to go put yourself through the whole kayak I'm better or I'm not better gitu.
Exactly. Me, I personally really don't like that gitu. Hanya karena, I mean, gelar is gelar. It's just a simple, it's word. It's two simple words, sarjana seni and sarjana pendidikan. It's two very simple words that means nothing if you can't do anything with those words gitu. If you just go kayak, aku sarjana seni loh, aku sarjana pendidikan loh, ya so what? There are many people who are sarjana seni and there are so many people who are sarjana pendidikan gitu. But how you can differentiate with those people is the way your heart and your mind act. I think that's what differentiates those who are like, I'm sarjana seni now, and those who really have the heart to, change the world, change the education world, especially in music education. I think that's for me.
All right.
Nah, ini next question udah nggak berat lah Kak.
Oke, bagus.
Apakah is learning and teaching music theory hard? Udah itu dong.
Is learning and teaching music theory hard?
Nanti I'll translate this because this was a question from a friend from the Philippines, so I'll translate.
Okay. So, hi friend from Philippines. I'll answer in English. So, is learning theory music and teaching theory music hard? Benar nggak?
Yes.
My answer to that question is yes. Both learning and teaching theory is hard. Well, gak yang susah, yang kayak susah setengah mati, yang kayak gitu juga enggak gitu. Cuman there's some difficulties in them gitu. Because as we all know, teori itu nggak cuman mentap satu toh. It's gonna change as time goes by. So I think the difficulty in teaching and learning theory music is following the era as they go by. And for me, it is hard, and I'm not gonna lie. Theory is hard, and I think you guys know that it's hard as well. Both classic and pop jazz has its hardships as well, gitu. But if you want to learn about them, so that you're able to learn more, and so you're able to teach, then it's not gonna be as hard as you think it is. So that's my answer. It's hard, but once you have put your mind to it, it's gonna be like, nggak juga sih, canda.
All right, thank you so much. Just a bit of a translation. Anyways, if I'm gonna speak in Tagalog for a bit, pokoknya, wait, why am I singing? Well, okay, wait, let me get this straight. Why do I want to start with jadi gitu? Gue pengennya ngomongnya kayak jadi, padahal I'm supposed to speak Tagalog. Mahirap siya. Basta pag nag-aaral ka ng theory, mahirap siya kasi ano tawag dun? May basta yung pagka-develop kasi ng mga topics sa theory, hindi siya kasing paano ba? You have to learn how to go well with Carion said. You have to really go well with parang all the things that are advancing, tsaka lahat ng mga nade-develop na theory, kailangan talagang mapag-aralan, ganon. So, pero, sinabi niya din na parang, kahit mahirap, kung gugustuhin, kung lalagyan ng effort, at kung sisipagin, kaya naman. So, yes, it's hard. Yes, it's difficult. However, if you really, really are passionate about something, something hard will not be something that should be treated as an immovable wall, but instead think of it as like a hurdle that you want to overcome so that you'll be not just be a better musician, but also be a better music educator. Right?
Exactly what Audric said this time. So I hope you understand. Audric, I hope you
all right. So for our last few questions, this one is also from I think it's from from us yang dari UPH Musik. Pertanyaannya adalah, musik edukasi itu ujung-ujungnya harus jadi guru. Orang suka apakah kayak harusnya jadi guru gitu, karena banyak orang suka mikirnya jadi guru les aja gitu akhirnya. But for my question, actually for this person, emang ada salahnya jadi guru les? No, that's just the question. But yeah, let's make Karyon answer this question.
So here's the thing. I find that a lot of people degrade teachers. I find that at first I find it quite offensive. I was like, excuse me? Do you not know my job is hard? But then again, I think, I shouldn't prove you with my words. I should just prove you with my actions. You are where you are today because of all your teachers. And you are who you are as a musician today because of those teachers who have learned so hard to teach you on music, on theory, on solfeggio, on history. So for me, no. I am a music educator student. Yes, I am. And I graduate as a music educator, yes. But it does not mean that, but if I want to live my life as a guru les, so what? I don't see anything wrong with that. Being a teacher is one of the most noble jobs I think there is in this world. Because you are nurturing someone to become a better individual in that specific subject. So, I'm not angry, I'm not mad. First of all, aku nggak marah sama sekali. I might sound. Tapi, to whoever you are saying this, try changing your mindset. Because being a teacher, whatever teacher, mau guru les, mau guru SD, SMP, SMA, there's nothing wrong with it. And I hope that you understand that there is nothing wrong with being a teacher, wherever they teach.
I feel like a large part of it is just knowing that you feel that you're in the right place. Because I feel like if you know that this is your calling, if you know that you're doing the right thing for yourself, you won't have to question, is it okay just being a guru les gitu? Like it shouldn't be to a point where you're questioning your very own like you're having your own existential crisis, because that in itself is already a red flag. It's like, hello, if the fact that you're having to struggle with that big question all the time in your field, then that's already something that you should really look into personally. So that's a very, very good response, and I hope that a lot of people don't just think of music education or education in general as something kayak jatuhnya tuh jadi guru aja gitu. Well, without teachers, where would the world be? Honestly, where would the world be without teachers? And honestly, education is such an underestimated field, but the demand for it is crazy. Like a lot of people look down on teachers, but at the end of the day, you need teachers. You want. Nah, ini yang gue agak kesel sih. So, because some people talk about how it's just education, but you see a lot of the rich people paying for private tutors. Mereka udah dapat guru-guru di sekolah privat internasional gitu, tapi malah nyari private lain gitu. They spend how much just to ask for lessons? Gak harus musik tambahan, les tambahan math, les tambahan science, ada IPA IPS gitu. So like, why are you looking down on teachers?
Exactly.
So yeah, that's our TED Talk today. Good job, guys.
So basically, that's it gitu. Yeah. Don't underestimate, but look further gitu than cuman guru les doang. Me being a guru les, I can actually create amazing people. And they'll be like, oh guru aku itulah si Karyon, contoh Amin. So basically, that's all I need. At the end of the day, yes, money might be important. Duh, you need money to be alive. But to have your students be so grateful for you and for everything you have done for them, there is nothing that can pay that much more than the grateful feeling from the students.
All right. Wow. Big bow. Good job. That was a great answer. All right. So, thank you so much for coming. That was all the time we have for tonight. Thank you for the great insight and the responses to the question. Now, for this episode, it'll be out, guys, soon, sometime next week, Thursday, Friday. We'll see you there. So thank you so much from Sam's Corner. I have Stephanie, I'm Audric, and we have Mel. And for tonight, thank you so much for coming, Korean. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you guys.
Thank you so much.